Video number 28. Number 28.1. My husband's last illness had him in the hospital for the 22nd time in 14 months. He was dozing and chuckled, saying something I didn't catch. He woke himself up with it. I smiled and asked to whom he was speaking. He said, "Oh, just talking to my dad, who passed in 1985. Then he looked at me intently and said quite lucidly, "I see my parents every day now." I knew then he was not getting better. That was the day after Thanksgiving. He started hospice care at home December 1st. And passed Christmas night. I have an eye for spotting hawks in our rural area that my husband always admired. The day of his funeral, I stepped out the back door and saw the mated pair, fledgling, and last year's youngling all lined up on a wire, which I'd never seen them do before. Now when I'm out and about, if I'm missing him particularly, if I say so out loud, I will inevitably see a hawk within 24 hours. They're messengers. I make a point of greeting and thanking them and sending back love and best wishes. Number 28.2. My auntie had a neighbor who lived next door for many years and died of face cancer, sadly. They weren't great friends. But when my aunt was dying of cancer, she suddenly exclaimed, "Oh, I'm not going with her," and sat back. Then a minute or so later she sat up and smiled and died. So obviously someone else came for her. Number 28.3. My mother died many years ago. My father had died the previous year. She was not acutely ill nor was she expected to die. About a month before she died, she told my sister she would see my father in the house, and he would come to visit her. She was not old, demented or taking any medications. Number 28.4. The morning of the evening my mother died she kept saying that they were coming from a magical mountain to get her. Number 28.5. When my mother was dying from cancer several times during the last 2 weeks of her life when she was in and out of consciousness, she would raise her arms up toward the ceiling and say, "James, my father who had passed some years before her, I'm coming, I am ready to get on the boat." Number 28.6. My friend's sister died in her early adulthood. My friend was in the bed with her when her sister died. They both saw angels surrounding the bed. Number 28.7. My mother was visited by several relatives a couple of weeks before she passed. There was also something wonderful I learned when she actually died, and that was that she could leave when I gave her the permission to go. I told her twice, "Mom, let the angels carry you home now." It took less than 10 minutes before she took her last breath. She was a believer. Number 28.8. Absolutely true. Wife and I were with her mother during her last week alive. She would stare around and say there were people around her. This happened more than once. Please subscribe, like and share with anyone that needs these comforting stories. See link to my books on Amazon using the tiny URL in description.